So there are a lot of big non-Power 4 games this week. Let's start with the big non-Power 4 game of the week. That's Army. Army, ranked in the top 20, 9-0, taking on Notre Dame. The chaos that can ensue if Army wins this football game cannot, I repeat, cannot be overstated. And as a college football fan, there is a part of me that isn't even deep down in my stomach. It's pretty close to my head that wants to see the chaos unfold just for the fun of it. It's not going to. Notre Dame, in the second half of the season, since you last saw them play a football game, which was maybe against Louisville when they went 31-24, they're rolling everybody. That included Navy, by the way, who was on a similar stretch. The best team that Army has probably played this year, maybe East Carolina, maybe it's North Texas, I don't know, pick your poison of those American teams. They deserve credit. They're going to the American Conference Championship game, deservedly so. They'll face Tulane no matter what happens for those two teams in the next couple weeks. Tulane has a bye this week, then they play Memphis next week. That's also a huge Group of 5 football game. The problem that Army is going to run into here is they run for 330 yards a game. That's really good. That's really good. Standard operating procedure for the service academies, right? Notre Dame's giving up 126 per game on the ground. So that's at the very high end of Army ceiling rushing the football here. I think it's 250 yards. I think that's maximum, absolute highest ceiling. Remember, Marcus Freeman's a defensive guy, and that Notre Dame defense has been playing really well. Conversely, the Army offense that was red hot to start this year, over the last 2 weeks against North Texas and Air Force has averaged a whopping 17 points per game. Not 17 points per quarter, not 17 points per half, 17 points per game. So the offense has hit a little bit of a lull, whether it's they're not playing their best football or Bryson Daly's been figured out or what have you. The ceiling of the triple option, you come up with whatever reason you like. They are a team that in the last couple of weeks has not been playing their best, and their best is absolutely required to beat Notre Dame. Are they capable? Yeah, if NIU can beat Notre Dame, so can Army. If you put NIU and Notre Dame on the same field right now, you and I both would pick Notre Dame to win the football game by a lot. And guess what? That's because they would win that football game by a lot. But that's why you play the games on the field, not on paper. But when this game plays out on the field, I'm really confident in Notre Dame. They're favored by just over 2 touchdowns. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to cover as well. It's not the first time they've seen the triple option this year. It's not the first time they've seen the triple option in the last couple of seasons. And with the way they've been playing in the last couple of weeks and the stakes for Notre Dame, there's no look ahead factor. There's no letdown. There's none of that. It's just you have to win if you want to get into the college football playoff. That's what Marcus Freeman should be telling his team because that is likely the truth. So give me Notre Dame to win. Give me Notre Dame to cover as well. Irish win it 31-10 over Army. Next game in the Group of 5, as always, can be brought up, Boise State. So Boise State this week, they don't have a tough game, right? Right? They're at Wyoming. They're a 23-point favorite, right? It's been a rough year in Laramie. It has not been good. Let me ask you a question for those of you that don't watch as much high-end Group of 5 football as you should. Have you ever seen or heard or felt what the Wyoming crowd is like when they've got a big opponent and it's popping? I'll admit, I don't have the slightest idea of what it's going to be like in Laramie on Saturday. I don't know if they're going to show up for a 2-win football team just because they have the chance to upset Boise State, who is ranked, wait for it, number 12 in the entire country. I'm just telling you, if they do, that's something the Broncos are going to have to deal with. But the talent mismatch in this game, it's too severe. It does not matter whether the crowd is there or not. I hope they are. I hope they make it as exciting as they can. Wyoming has the potential to be a good program in the Mountain West, especially in the aligned Mountain West going forward and such. I don't think they've got enough. I really do. And look, bigger favorites, Northern Illinois over Notre Dame comes to mind, have won outright this year, but I don't even think Wyoming's covering. That offense for Boise State is a lot more balanced than anybody wants to give it credit for. I'm taking the Broncos in this spot. I think they go into Laramie. I think they win big, 38-14 over the Cowboys. How about the game that UNLV is watching? UNLV is watching tight. Tim Skipper, head coach for Fresno State, it hasn't been a perfect year. It hasn't been terrible per se. This win could go a long way to helping Tim Skipper save his job, because do you know who Fresno State has next week? They go on the road last week of the regular season to play UCLA out of the Big Ten, who's playing much better football than the start of the year. Before the season, I would have said, I'll take Fresno State over UCLA. They still could win the game, but they're fighting for bowl eligibility here. They're favored against unbeaten Colorado State. Not unbeaten overall, unbeaten in Mountain West play. Fowler Nicolosi has had a pretty nice season, as you would expect for a returning quarterback. The Rams are in a position to control their own destiny to get to the Mountain West Championship game. And UNLV's barking this week. I mean, UNLV's got a tough game on Friday night. They're at San Jose State, favored by 7.5. I'll take UNLV 31-21 in that particular game. But they have to have Colorado State lose, or else the rematch won't take place for Ricky White and the Rebels and Haj Malik Williams and everybody else that has contributed to making UNLV a really good football team. They will not be able to get it done. And Colorado State next week has got Utah State at home. Utah State's not making a bowl game. Plus that game's in Fort Collins. This is the best chance. Fresno State is favored by 3. 5-0 Colorado State, 3-3 Fresno State. And the team that's 3-3 is at home and favored. I'm thinking Vegas knows something here. Maybe they just want the rematch to happen of Boise State and UNLV. Maybe that's what they're thinking. But I'll take Fresno State to get the win that Tim Skipper needs, which would be a big-time statement win, but would also set up, I think, the most interesting conference championship game scenario because of the rematch factor. Not that Colorado State can't go toe-to-toe with the Broncos. They can. They beat them last year. Boise State wasn't as good last year. Obviously, it was in the midst of firing their head coach and moving in the defensive coordinator and Spencer Danielson. Well, now he's the head coach, and he's doing a pretty darn good job. But I'll take Fresno State to win the game. It's a close one, 28-24. The Bulldogs get the win, give UNLV what they're looking for. But if Colorado State wins this game, that is going to be the biggest test that Boise State will have to get through to clinch their spot into the college football playoff as the highest-ranked Group of 5 champion. So I mentioned earlier and just wanted to touch on, so you've got it on your radar, Memphis and Tulane square off next week. Tulane has already clinched their spot in the American Conference Championship game against Army. That's not up for debate. What is up for debate is whether or not Tulane can find their way into the playoff. They can. They're one of the hottest teams in the country right now. They have been rolling through the American. They beat Navy into a pulp. It was almost un-American what they did. 35-0. They beat the midshipmen. Have that game on your radar going into next week. I'll talk about it here on the show because it will need to be discussed. But all these games got to play out first. That Army-Notre Dame game, going to be interesting. I think Notre Dame will end up pulling away. Plenty of great action this week. Enjoy the weekend of college football. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. And until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.